Hello everyone. It is time for another reading wrap-up, this time the month of July. I read a total of 6 books, 3 physical, 3 ebooks. I've been getting more into my ebook genre era, so we have that going on right now. Hopefully get some more good ones as well. I do have notes because the ebooks I will always forget at least a little bit of the name and or other stuff. So I have that going on. But let's get into the fact that out of the majority of the TBR that I kind of selected, I did read a good chunk of them. There were still a good chunk. But considering I had put like 9 or 10 different books on there, I wasn't, like I said, I didn't think I was going to hit all of them. I knew I was going to have a couple. There is one that I kind of soft DNF'd because even though I was really excited and kind of looking forward to it, I had gotten about halfway, stopped caring. Did not see anything pushing me to want to continue at the time, which sucks because it is like a prequel, I guess, to a series that I have read, and I love that series, and it's great. And if you didn't know, talking about Wild Reverence, a lot of people love that book, and I think it's because it does delve more into the gods' perspectives and stuff. My issue is that I didn't care about diving into the gods' perspective when reading Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows. I didn't care. And also, too, my issue is that with this book is that I wasn't getting to go into the gods that we knew from the series. It was a completely different like goddess and her story and things that at the time I didn't see how it ties into Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows. So that's my thing. Hopefully I can get back into it maybe later. Or maybe I might not. I don't know. Sometimes with soft DNFs, they turn into hard DNFs kind of for me. So first, we're going to start with the ebooks because I'm going to pop up a picture and the star rating on the side, and it's just easier. And then I will hold up the physical books for the later half. But first one we're going to talk about is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This one, I'm going to be honest, I can't remember her name, but I remember she is a publisher, I believe, or an editor. No, she's a publisher. So she's getting people to push through and publish books and get them deals and all that. She lives in New York City, and she talks about this kind of basically like trope or thing that always happens to where the guy she's with at the time will go to a small town and fall in love helping rescue like a tree farm or some stuff. And so she keeps having that happen. She runs into a editor who is kind of a little bit gruff and rough with her about a book that is one that she's kind of working on to push through, and he doesn't like it and stuff. And then it goes on to where she has her sister who's like pregnant, I think 7-8 months pregnant with her 3rd kid, wanting to take a trip. And so she agrees because she'll do anything for her sister, and they go to a small town that is based off of a book that like she helped publish. And so they go there. Her sister's really excited about it, like sees all this stuff, made a list of like kind of like this is what we need to do kind of thing. And the girl is trying to like be like, yeah, I'm gonna help because I'll do anything for my sister and stuff. And then while she's there, she runs into the grumpy editor that she met before, who apparently grew up there and stuff. And it kind of progresses from there with stuff. I gave this a 4.25. I really kind of liked it, especially the ending. I felt like it had like a nice kind of build up My only stuff that I had issues with is that it did seem a little corny and cheesy at first. There's some things that just were like not the best. And then the number one thing that kept making me have some issues is the fact that the main female character's sister kept calling her sissy. And mind you, they're in their late 20s, and she's pregnant with her third child. And for some reason, her calling her older sister sissy throughout the book, like, grinded on my nerves a little bit. Like, I'm not saying I don't like it. Mind you, too, I am the only girl in my family. I have only older brothers, so I don't get called sissy and stuff. I get called sis a lot from my brothers, so I don't know. But to me, hearing her say sissy in the book over and over again as a grown woman who's pregnant bugged me so bad that like I was so close to like having to like not read it because that was bugging me so bad. So, but other than that, loved it. It was good. It was interesting. I liked how the ending wasn't like the normal like yeah, stay in the small town kind of stuff, I will say. Slight spoiler if you haven't read it, but most people have read Emily Henry's backlogs. Some haven't, I know. I am one. But the ending was a lot different than what you normally perceive to happen. And I kind of like that. So there is that. I gave that one a 4.25 if I didn't mention it already. I think I did. Really good. Liked it. So far, my favorite one from her, just by a teensy weensy bit. Not a lot. Next is The Scholar and the Last Fairy Door. This one is by H.G. Parry. This is one that it took me a really long time to kind of read. I almost was going on almost a full month of trying to read it. And it's not that it was bad and stuff, it was just the fact that, like, the very first part is very slow and kind of like learning all this stuff. Like, you're learning about the girl's like family and like when her brother went to war and how her dad died and how she has all these siblings and they're running a farm. And then when her brother comes back, hopefully you can hear me. The fan just went on. But when her brother comes back from the war, they learn a really big secret about magic. They didn't know about magic because they're kind of kept in the dark because their family doesn't have it. It's only for like the rich and powerful. But they get to learn about it because her brother gets cursed by a fairy. And so they get to learn about it and all this. And the main character is basically, she really wanted to be a teacher. And then when she finds out about this curse, she really wants to help her brother. Because their dad died, he came back, he's cursed. He has it where he's struggling every like major holiday, like winter solstice, summer solstice, spring solstice, stuff like that, where the veil between like fairy world and human world is kind of like the thinnest. So they're dealing with that. She goes and finds a way to get into this magic school and stuff. And basically she's trying to learn about how to help her brother. But the problem is that they kind of blocked everything off about fairies. So it's really hard for her. She can't find all the information she wants. Then she runs into this boy named Alden, I believe it was, and Hero. And then there's Eddie. I can remember their names. I can't remember hers. That's bad. But she goes, she's learning this. Alden, he's one of the people who's from a family who's like rich and powerful and has this magic, and he finds out that she's trying to learn more about this fairy stuff as well. Brings her into his group where there's Hero, who he's grown up with, and Eddie, who he also grew up with, and they become friends. And in the first half of the book, they're going through school, they're going through learning, talking about like all this stuff and things. And like I said, it was kind of dragging for me, that part. The part that got interesting was kind of near the end of the first part, and definitely once we got to the second part. The second part, once it came to pass, I was reading it like nothing. The second part was fantastic. There's also a couple of things where you're like, you didn't think about it until then, and then you're like, that is interesting. I didn't know that. Like it. It makes sense, kind of stuff. Loved it. This one, though, I did give 3.5 because, okay, I had to go through. My camera said, hey, no memory. So, let's get back. So, the fairy, or the scholar in the last fairy door, I gave 3.5. Again, my issue was that the first half was dragging by so slow, and it was so hard to understand, and there were some things that were just so repetitive and annoying and hard to follow through that I didn't like it. And then kind of near the end, the middle end, there's some things that were like very aggravating and annoying too. And like it just, some of it just didn't fully make sense and didn't like fully like come together. It was like there was a puzzle piece missing, and then you find it and it doesn't fit fully. Like it's close but not quite. And that's kind of how this book was, is that like the beginning was so slow to get built up, the second half was so fast, but in the end there's still so much like things that I want to know and like trying to understand, and that I didn't like fully. So it was good, it was interesting. I just don't know if I would pick up another book by the author because of how dragged out that was. So if you know if his other books, or her, I'm not sure, are better or different than Scholar in the Last Fairy Door, let me know, because that one took forever. Almost a whole month. Too long. So, next one is the escape game. This one is one that, like I said before, when I did my TBR video, I was so excited when I saw it. Like, it looked so interesting and so much like something that I would be into. And this one is by, I believe it's Marissa, Meyer, and Tamara Hill. Again, you'll see the author's names. But it's basically a story about a game show that's an escape room kind of thing, where they have five groups of teens, like with 4 or 5 different members in it. And they're competing on a game show where they're trying to do escape room puzzles and stuff to figure it out. And at the end, they can win a prize. They're on season 4, and there's 2 sisters. They're competing on different scenes. You have Sierra, I believe, and then I think it was Angelica, Angel. It started with an A, I'm pretty sure. But you have Sierra and her sister. Sierra is kind of goth, kind of punk stuff, and her sister, complete opposite, um, like girl next door, bubblegum, preppy, like all that. But their teams are competing at the end of season 4. They had a big fight the day before, and then Sierra's going in to compete. She has kind of a rough attitude, negative, like grumpy attitude, to fit with her personality, kind of. She goes in, and they're doing like a vampire room, and then they open the coffin, and unfortunately, there is Sierra's sister gone. So they end that season, nothing. They suddenly are casting for season 5, and you go through 3 other contestants trying to join the cast. So you have Beck, Carter, and a D. You get each of their perspectives of them joining, trying to come onto the show and why, trying to talk about why they should be on the show, what their motivation is, all that. Beck, transgender, loves to make their own puzzles and like escape rooms themselves, would love to be able to go and stuff. Carter is a internet personality who uses an avatar to help kind of solve puzzles like on the show. And she has a following that kind of goes with it, but she's really self-conscious and has some issues, but she's also a math whiz. And then Adi has a mom who used to be a Hollywood star, who basically is trying to push him into the spotlight, but he's supposedly really handsome. And so they get to go onto the TV show, and basically then they find out that Sierra is their other teammate, And so they're a little hesitant because everyone thinks Sierra killed her sister, but Sierra didn't have any evidence against her, so she was let free. Basically, this one is them still trying to get through the show, but also trying to figure out what really happened. And I will say that it also kind of was a little bit harder to get into and understand and stuff. And there were certain things too that were annoying. It is a YA book, but the part that was kind of annoying is that each of these characters had different things they're going through or different motives for stuff throughout the series and book that they're dealing with that they just didn't communicate. And I can get why in a little bit, but also it was just slightly annoying because then it all comes out anyways. So I was just like, say stuff, do stuff. But I will say the ending, some very interesting plot twists, and like I did not suspect who it was at all. So I will say that's a prop. This one I gave 4 stars. There is a book 2 coming out at the beginning of next year, I believe. So I want to read it. I am now invested in it to see what's going on because it should have the same characters with some other new ones. So we will see how that goes. I gotta sneeze so bad. But that one that is my last ebook. Can't talk. Brain's functioning very slowly now. But that was the last ebook. Now let's get on to my physical books. These are the physical books. We're going to real quick go through one because it's not going to be actually talked about, and that's going to be this one. So, To Die For is a book that's in another part of a video that I will tag in the description down below. But this one is going to be talked about in that video instead. So, the rating will be in that video. Be talking about what it's about, and my thoughts will be in that video. So, we won't talk about that one as much. Sorry. Next is going to be Violet Thistlewaite is not a villain anymore. This one was pretty interesting. This one I saw on YouTube from another person, and I was really curious about it. I love the kind of color and cover design on here. And so I went and got it from the library, started reading it. Kind of cute, cozy fantasy. Basically, Violet, she was a villain she was like kind of an accomplice to the main villain named Guy, who like was basically like kind of tormenting this town and doing all this stuff. And she's kind of like grown up with this guy, thinking that nobody loved her, nobody cared for her, nobody like understood her but him. And then all of a sudden he's slain, he's defeated, and the knight, or the person who defeats the bad guy, comes and sees Violet sitting in her garden and basically says, hey, go have a chance, try to be good, try to do something with your life. So she goes to this town, finds a shop where she can like open a kind of like flower shop, and it's owned by what was his name? Nathaniel and his sister. I don't remember his sister's name, but basically he owns one half of the shop with his twin sister, trying to do like an alchemy kind of essential oils and stuff, and she gets the other half. He's kind of a grump, so it's like Grumpy Sunshine, where he's like, I don't know why she's here, I don't trust it, suspicious, all that. She's just trying to learn how to use her magic for good. And then all of a sudden there's some stuff that's going on that like is plaguing the town, and he's trying to figure it out, and she's like kind of trying to help him. And then in the end, you learn some interesting stuff about a prophecy that was thrown into it and all this other stuff. It was pretty good. And this one I gave a 3.5. It was cozy, it was good, but like some stuff was just a little slower, and kind of the issue is that he didn't trust people, but then like they got together and he still didn't trust her, and she just didn't know things. because she was brought up to not trust people and she didn't know who to trust or how to find out this stuff. And then she kind of finds out and all that. And the ending wasn't bad. It's just one of those things where I feel like there could have been a little more kind of conclusion as to what's going on. I will say the one thing I loved was that, like, let me see if I can find one closer to the front so that it doesn't give away anything. Hold on. I think I gotta go farther. But the one thing that I loved is that, like, in the book, it has like parts where it has like the little signs that they have in front of their shops. I love that in the messages because there's like little jokes. Like this one says, "Coming soon, Rough Around the Hedges, your one-stop shop for all your floral and garden needs." And it says, "Here now, Marsh Apothecary, where you find plants you can actually use." So they're like bantering back and forth with the signs, which I kind of like. But it was just one of those things where it just felt harder to kind of get into after a while for some things. And then there's a secret too at the end where it's like this guy didn't know about it. The Nathaniel, he didn't know about it with all the other people. And it was kind of just one of those things where it's like, what? So it was like a little bit shocking, but it was interesting. And the last one is The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy. This one is following, what is it? Osric, Mordaunt, and Orion Fairham. So there's basically this society where they have magic that they can get, and if you're strong enough, you'll get your magic imprinted like with a stamp on your hand. And if it's on your right hand, it's good. If it's on your left hand, it's bad. Ordaunt or Osric, Mordaunt, he has an illness going about him, and the only one who can help is Orion Fairham, who is on the good side, and he's kind of on the bad side, so he knows she's not likely to help. So he goes and he kind of breaks into her order of business in place, right? And he basically is trying to bribe her. Then he threatens to kidnap her, and then her supervisor comes in and basically, like, somehow finds a way to get him to, like, help her, convinces him to help donate to, what was it called again? What is it called? Pox. Something pox. There's something pox basically going out. A long forgotten pox is what it says, where it affects children. And her order is trying to figure out like a cure to help, but they need money for that. But none of the other places are willing to like give them money. And so he offers like, I think it's like 20 million to help, and he has to like sell some of the stuff he's stolen to get 20 million to send to her. And she's doing a treatment on him that's kind of like nobody really believes it's going to work, but she had a theory long ago that kind of she was into, but nobody really trusted or believed her. And so they're trying it on him. It's not seeming to work very well at first. Again, they're spending a lot of time with each other. She's getting annoyed because, again, he's a thief, he's a villain, he's a murderer. And then he's like, oh, she's just so uptight and like trying to like tell him not to thieve, not to kill, not to do this. He's like, it's who I am, right? And basically, in the end, it kind of leaves on a little bit of a cliffhanger where you're finding out that there's more to this pox situation, and there's more to like him getting kind of healed. That kind of happens. So this is an enemies to lover, but it's also like an enemies to lover with like a very slow burn. Because like I know a lot of people get annoyed with enemies to lovers where it's like they're enemies to lovers for like a few minutes and then boom, they're all of a sudden more lovers. This one, no. Like this is enemies to lover with like a slow burn to where like the last few pages is like where they kind of are starting. They're not even fully lovers. They're starting to like each other just a smidge. So the second book, I believe, did come out. I am waiting for a hold on that from the library, but I am very curious. I did give this one a 4 stars. Really good. Liked it. It was pretty interesting. Some of the jokes and comments in here were funny. it's just the fact too that like it's a little repetitive in some stuff where she's like annoyed with him, he's annoyed with her, all that, him thinking he's like so like good looking, she's gonna fall for him, and her just being kind of like, kind of stuff, like uptight kind of. But I mean, it's for her order and her like research and stuff, she's kind of used to it. So that is that. Like I said, 6 books in total. It wasn't too bad. I did have a couple. So like I said, Wild Reverence, I did DNF halfway through. I did try to start the Faraway Inn, but then I kind of had some stuff go on, so I put that away. The Dissection of Murder I am currently going to read for next month as well. Baby Dragon Cafe pushed back. And then apparently Sir Cameron Has to Die. I read for August. Well, I read the end of July, but I finished it in August for some stuff. So to find out about that one, you'll have to look in the next video next time. But if you got this far, thank you guys for watching. Tell me what books you read in July. What were your favorites? Which ones down here that I mentioned did you like as well, or maybe didn't like and stuff? And make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week with a new update. Bye!